Hi, my name is Nishant Mittal. Welcome back to another episode of I Read This Book. I am really happy to be having Mr. Shailesh Vikram Singh join us today. It's a true honor. Mr. Shailesh Vikram Singh is the founder of Massive Group. Why I'm calling it a group is because it has a foundation which does work related to cleanliness, clean tech, environment, and then Massive Mobility Fund, which is an e-mobility fund related.
Company, yeah.
It's a company, and then there's an entire piece which is solving the mobility problem by creating an ecosystem of e-bikes and e-rickshaws and e-vehicles.
True.
So Massive is the name of the company organization group which Mr. Shailesh Vikram Singh is building with a lot of people, including Mr. Vijay Shekhar Sharma from Paytm. So if India wants to talk about premier thinkers in environment, in clean tech, it's Mr. Shailesh Vikram Singh here, and I'm so happy to be sitting with him today. Hi, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nishant. Thank you. Really glad to be there. Yeah.
So nice. So we are going to talk about something which is supposedly a very important topic. It's the pollution exercise in NCR. So Delhiites have this major problem where they face extraordinary levels of pollution almost throughout the year. So we're going to talk about how that shapes up, what is behind it, what are the mechanics of it, and how can we solve it if it's possible. There are a lot of misinformation going around, but if there's one source of information which is going to be extremely revelatory for you, it's going to be Mr. Shailesh Vikram Singh. So let's talk about it. Sir, what do you know about NCR's pollution problem? What is it? Can you summarize it for us?
So I am living in Delhi for last 15 odd years, right? You suffer, and I think I moved from a normal regular tech venture fund to a clean tech fund only because of Delhi air pollution. If you see the Delhi air pollution, right, it is almost for 9 months it is there, which is your AQI remains from 200 goes up to almost 1000, and for 4 months, which is 3 or 4 months, which is monsoon, it is in a healthy zone, right? So it is a problem of very high particulate PM 2.5 to PM 10, and people attribute variety of reasons. But this is a discussion which only become very hot in two scenarios when there is a lot of what you call visible smoke in the air, smog I will say, and second is Diwali. Other than these two events, which is I think October and November, Delhiites I think are like, I should not use it, but still say they're like goats, right? Who are happily munching their leaves while waiting to be slaughtered. Okay. So that is the sad scenario of Delhi. It's very bad. It's terrible. Unfortunately, there is hardly any discussion or any scientific discussion on it going on. Yeah.
So, sir, एक तो Diwali है, which is a big problem. Then there is paddy burning, which people know about. लेकिन फिर भी तो this happens particularly, as you said, in November, October, late October, early November, early December maximum. Uske rest of the period, we also have a lot of pollution.
What are even right now, like it is 500 plus, right? AQI is around 400 to 500. So the first thing you have to know that Diwali is not a problem.
Okay.
Diwali is relevant in Delhi in pollution thing. Mm-hmm. It goes very 1000 AQI whatever, but it has no meaning. Mm-hmm. To understand the pollution is like air pollution particularly is not something which impacts you if you inhale for a 1 day or 2 day. Mm-hmm. Air pollution is bad if you are exposed to on a sustained period, which is almost 1 month plus. So if you have a 1 month plus sustained very high exposure, it is very bad. Mm-hmm. Now Diwali impact is never more than 2 days, maximum 3 days.
Mm-hmm. Or so, maybe a week at max, right?
No, even never a week. Just 3-4 days. Okay. This IIT Delhi study has done it last 6-7 years. They have analyzed all data. So it is for a 3 days, 4 days maximum. So it is has no impact at all. So I'll give you analogy of think of air rather than air, think of it as a water. Mm-hmm. So the water is say when it is at your chest level, right? Mm-hmm. Which is 60 AQI. So 60 AQI plus is below. Mm-hmm. Now say your height is 6 foot. So your 60 AQI is 5 feet, right? Mm-hmm. So year long it should be there. Now what happens when this whole in Delhi for 9 months it is like say 8 foot. Mm-hmm. So you are submerged in the water anyway. Mm-hmm. Now if a sudden waves come and goes away for a minute, it doesn't drown you, right? You are there in the water, then you come out. It doesn't kill you, right? The worrisome is the sustained 8 foot water, right? And this 8 foot water in Delhi is caused by three reasons. But frankly, two reasons: dust and transportation.
Dust and transportation.
Not even paddy. Paddy happens only in October, November. So again, like say you start from January. Right now there is no paddy impact because paddy happened in October. So there is nothing called paddy. Then what it is? Why 600, right?
Yeah.
So
The air is pretty dirty right now.
air pretty dirty, very low visibility. So it is for a simple reason because the air moisture content is very, very high. So everything is suspending below. Now Delhi has a very high dust, really very high dust compared to any other area. One is the historical reason, or rather say geological reason, right? So we are in a dust ball. If you start from Dubai, goes up to whole Himalaya, we have a natural dust. We always be a dust ball, right? So our dust will always be high. But this is not carcinogenic. That is good news. But the bad news is the construction dust is very, very high and is very bad. And if you look Delhi in last 70, 80 years, the amount of construction which has happened last 10 years is more than what has happened in last 70 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Exponentially.
Huge, right? Now, if you look at building in say Bangkok, in a Bangkok where building is under construction, you will think it is going to be delivered somewhere. The way it has been packed, it's full of plastic, scaffolding, everything is covered. In India or in Delhi, under construction building will have a green cloth hanging, which is symbolic, right? In India, everything is symbolic nature,
Symbolic,
right? To give a sense that I am getting construction. What is the job of this? Nothing at all. So none of the building which are being constructed are never covered. No scaffolding is done. Everywhere you see road dust is open. In US or in Europe, if you go, you will see there's a wood chips on every even a pot. They do not allow any dust outside. Any what you call uncovered dirt, uncovered road. In India, it's everywhere. And Delhi, you know what is the length of roads in Delhi?
I do not know.
It is around 30,000 kilometers.
Okay.
30,000 kilometers of road in Delhi. That is the length. It is the largest network of road in the world.
Okay.
Now, two sides of it uncovered, day in, day out. Think of the dust it is claiming.
Okay.
Right? So, that is the one dust is coming. And second is the transportation. Transportation is a really huge problem. So,
and I know that you have a solid insight as far as transportation is concerned. So when we think about transportation, we're gonna think about trucks. We're gonna think about big cars.
BMW.
We're gonna think about diesel.
Correct.
What you know is something special. Can you tell us?
Yeah. So I think, as you rightly said, in India, being a socialist country, we like to blame. You know, we all have grown on those Amitabh Bachchan pictures, right? Where Amjad Khan used to be bad guy, drive used to big cars. So we have that hatred towards big guys, big corporates, and big cars coming from Amitabh Bachchan days.
And even trucks.
Even trucks, and they all murder. Their truck drive used to be involved. So what happened in the COVID? COVID was a very unfortunate thing, but it created a very, very unique, what you call a mathematical thing, what we call A and B testing.
It created a simulation of kind.
So you had a simulation running, created by nature, which was impossible to run. Now what happened? COVID happened in the month of March, April, May. Now I call March, April, May the secular months. Why secular months? Because there is no paddy burning, there is no winter moisture, right? There is no Diwali crackers, so there is no impact, right? And in fact, the pollen issue also has gone away. Generally, pollen is in February, March. So mid-March, April, May are perfect month where the air should be pristine clean, right? And this time air was. It was below 60 all the time, right? But if you go back in 2019, 2018, 2017, it's always 200. Now, there's no reason. Then why air is still 200, right? And we realized the construction has already started somewhere, not so much closed. The one thing which was not happening was mobility. So we looked at the mobility data using Google Mobility Index, city travel, everything else, and the mobility was practically dead for 3 months. And you suddenly saw that the AQI has dropped from 300 to 60.
Not only mobility, construction was also down.
But not that much.
Okay.
Construction has started for a month, then has started, right? And the sites were anyway open. All sites were anyway the way. It's not that they were covered, right? Digging was not happening, but there was an open sand line which was like open, right? So construction has no role as such, right? But the mobility has totally stopped. So we were able to figure out, because it's A and B testing, that if you remove mobility, your air becomes cleaner.
The direct impact of mobility was recognized during the COVID simulation.
Now, when we think of mobility, again we think of the buses and the cars, right? Now, when you look at the data, India sells huge number of cars, no debate, but India sells like crazy number of motorbikes. So the number of vehicles being sold in India every year is close to 2 crore. 2 crore motorcycles or 20 million motorcycles are getting sold every year, year, right? Delhi alone has close to 75 lakh motorcycles.
Okay.
compared to around 3 or 4 lakh cars. So the biggest problem is from two bikes. So the two-wheelers, and now two-wheelers have multiple problems. One, the engine is not as efficient as a large BMW or a Mercedes for that matter, right? It's a very tiny engine. The other problem is that two-wheelers don't run at the most efficient speed. Majority of two-wheelers run from 20 to 30 km per hour. You know, speed.
They are
Which is
supposed to.
second or third gear. They keep on, zigzag. And when they do run that way, the ratio unburned fuel is very, very high.
Okay.
Right? So the number of wheels and the congestion on the road is too high, and that is causing all the.
So your killer insight was that more than trucks, more than four-wheelers, more than all the
It's
big
two-wheeler.
vehicles, it's the two-wheelers
Yeah.
which are causing the major
Correct.
portion of
Correct.
pollution in
Correct.
Delhi.
Correct. And now why two-wheelers so high? Because there is no transportation in India or in Delhi for that matter. You know, the average number of buses per thousand. How much will be in Delhi? What are the numbers?
I have no clue.
It is less than 1%, 0.5. Thailand has 12 buses per thousand.
Okay.
Delhi has 0.5.
24 times.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So, and Thailand is not the benchmark in the road transport, right? I'm just saying one of the neighboring countries, right? So, see, there are no hardly buses. Now, in last 10 years, 12 years, not a single bus has been ordered by DTC. Now,
What about the Tata Green?
no, the DTC, because in Delhi, the permits are very strong. They do not allow private operators to come because India state wants to do everything. So, state has not bought any buses.
Since
Last 12 years.
12 years. Okay.
We had 2008.
Okay.
So now, in fact, Delhi government has given a tender of 1,000 buses, and they are so happy. 1,000 buses. You need 10,000 buses.
But they must be claiming that it's a start of something.
No, I think that is a start and end. Right.
So the killer insight is that it's the two-wheelers.
And two-wheelers, why? Because public transportation is not there.
Okay.
Why? Like say, if I have to go, like say, look at any country.
So
like
what
say-
do you think about metros?
See, metros cannot connect door to door, right? You have to have much more denser roads. Like say you go to any country. If I say I went to Athens, right? I landed, I took a bus and I reached my hotel and got down at my hotel, right? To the Hilton and could walk off. Could you do it in this Delhi?
I mean, Ahmedabad has a terrific bus network.
Yeah, Ahmedabad did that. But look at that. Because in India, the government has not, neither has invested in this, neither has liberalized for the private players to come in. There's a startup called Shuttle, which I think used to get impounded every 2 days by the government. And then
But
they
Shuttle is doing great, right?
No, the Shuttle moved to then what you call corporate side, and they're doing great. But not in the whole public. I think there's huge opportunity to invest. India needs some 3 lakh buses. In fact, if you just invest into buses, your GDP will grow by 2%.
Ah.
Because transportation is huge. Because people spend so much their private money using transportation.
And the buses, of course, the cheapest.
The cheapest mode, right? Train is cheaper, but train
that's
is more
for long
infra.
distance.
Yeah,
It's
infra and lot of things are there,
intra-city
right?
commuting.
Correct. And it's
Transport.
cheaper then for the government also. Rather than spending 100 crore to build 1 kilometer, in 100 crore you get a hell number of buses, right?
Okay, so there's a few Mythbusters that we've done, so we need to recapitulate this because it's going to be a lot of material. Number one, Diwali and paddy burning isn't the major cause
Diwali
of
is
pollution.
immaterial. Paddy
Not-
burning is. Paddy burning is.
For a month.
For 3 months.
For 3 months.
Yeah, that's it.
For 3
2
months.
months or you can say. Yeah.
Okay, so Diwali is just a day phenomena.
It's
Paddy
good,
burning
yeah.
is 2 months, 3 months phenomena. Then comes construction dust, which is across the year.
Yeah.
And then comes the transportation issue, which is more focused towards two-wheelers.
Correct.
So this is the present situation
Yeah.
of.
So think about again using a swimming pool analogy or water analogy. So your water is 60, transportation move it to 8 feet, and paddy moves from 8 feet to 12 feet.
So it hardly matters.
Yeah, and Diwali makes 12 feet to 60 feet.
But only.
But for 2 days.
Yeah.
But 12 to 60 feet doesn't matter because you're already dead.
Yeah. So you need to cut down on the major three
Yeah.
sources.
So
that
you have to bring up 60 first.
Okay. So, sir, what is massive trying in this domain? I mean, I hear a lot of.
Yeah, so we are investing money to move the. So we see the two-wheeler, three-wheeler in Delhi is huge, and they need to move. So we are doing our bit, obviously, but the government is also doing a lot. They are bringing Phase 2, and they are doing a lot of stuff. So we are investing there. We think there's a great opportunity from money-making side. At the same time, we'll solve the pollution issue. So we are building a what you call a charging infrastructure, which will enable two-wheeler and three-wheeler. At the same time, we are doing the battery rentals, lithium battery rentals, and also financing electric vehicles, right? Because majority of the people who are coming and borrowing this vehicle, they do not have any banking records. So we are creating the whole hardware tech solution where we control the vehicle rather than the borrower. So it's a paradigm shift. Everywhere globally, when people lend, they always lend on the person, not on the asset. Here we are lending on the asset, not the person.
So,
And
so
we are
when you
controlling the
rent
asset.
it out to, let's say, a e-rickshaw puller who's driving this e-rickshaw, what happens if he messes up the vehicle because they are rough drivers? Right?
Yeah, so vehicles are not very so bad. So he owns the rickshaw. Generally, he has a skin in the game because he has put in some money. So he put some 15 to 20% of the vehicle cost. He has put in there. So that means he is skin in the game. But we control if he doesn't pay. So we have the power to take the vehicle away. Or control the vehicle. So that's it. But we have variable plan where we help them out and everything else. Each vehicle we invest take one family out of poverty.
Of course.
And
it's like a mass self-employment
Yeah,
drive that you can
correct.
do because they're serving transportation, which is like a huge sea, so they can make a lot of money. They can live a sustained
no,
living.
much better. And so there are two advantages. I'll come to that. So one is the poverty side. So before this guy is pulling a rickshaw.
Yeah.
Now rickshaw pulling, even if you do maximum, you cannot do more than 10 to 15 kilometers. After 15 kilometers, you do need liquor to survive the hunger and the pain, the body,
The
right?
mortality rates are
Yeah.
insane.
Correct.
And die young.
And you cannot earn more than 3,000 rupees a month or maximum 5,000-6,000 rupees a month. With this vehicle, your income goes to 15 to 18,000 rupees,
Yeah.
almost 20,000 rupees. So I call these guys the poor rich night.
Yeah.
Within the segment, suddenly they are in a very upper segment having money. Their kids are going to tuitions, they are buying even washing machines.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
cascading effects are beyond
It
imagination.
changes the game. It
Yeah.
changes the game completely.
And
So-
how many vehicles have
So
been
we are doing trials, so we have done hardly 150 vehicles, but
Okay.
I'm happy that 150 families are out of
150
poverty.
families are
out of poverty,
happy.
right? And second part is each vehicle takes 2.5 ton of CO2 in a year, which is almost equivalent to planting 1 acre of forest. So you have done one vehicle and you have planted 1 acre of forest, right? That kind of CO2 is going away from the environment.
How? But they were pulling rickshaws, sir. They were not using
No, no, because transportation people are using earlier auto.
okay.
So,
Alright.
so they're not no longer using auto, either CNG or whatever, diesel or buses. So that is the trick, right?
Yeah.
So it is just changing the game.
Alright.
So,
But e-rickshaws, sir, aren't they very micro distant?
yeah, there's a macro mobility. They're
Yeah.
totally macro mobility.
So
but in
can
India,
you assume that they are shifting the burden away from, let's say, autos which are slightly longer distance?
no, auto in India always be so. India is a last mile mobility deficient country, huge, right? So that is point to point or in a circle. Autos were going away, so they are taking that away. Otherwise, people used to so they are small, but still generally one ride is almost 2 to 3 kilometers.
Okay.
So 2 to 3 kilometers as you walk.
So they do take some burden away from
Yeah.
it. So it's actually it's an environmental solution, it's a social,
Solution, correct.
cultural
Yeah.
solution,
And it's making money for us.
and it's a profitable
Yeah.
solution. So that's and this is a venture which Mr. Vijay Shekhar Sharma has.
Vijay has invested in a holding company. Vijay has invested in a massive holding company. So yeah, you can say he has.
And how are you looking ahead, sir? I mean, are you trying to expand this?
Yeah. So we are really focused on this. This is a very large market. So in India, right, everybody has been looking at the cars and debating the car and everything else. Close to 3 to 4 billion dollar worth of rickshaws have been sold in the last 1.5 years.
And all
So
of
last
you
3
are
years.
coming from China, sir. What about that?
No. Now China started in China, but I think now almost 80 to 90% is happening in India.
And the e-rickshaws you're making, or
We are not making.
you're-
We are just financing the rickshaws.
So what do you notice, sir? I mean, where do they come from?
So they have been mentioned in India. The one part is coming from China, which is motor and controller. That comes from China because the cost difference are huge. Like India one cost from 20,000 rupees, China will cost from 5,000 rupees.
Oh my god.
So it's not a simple.
And the rest of things.
Yeah, everything done in India.
Yeah, it's
India-
basically metal work.
Yeah. So in automobile, India is far ahead. Especially two wheelers, India is far ahead of any country. Right? Nobody has been able to replicate it.
Yeah.
We have what we economic scale. We have the whole ecosystem. Hero has done a great job. So they have really built the whole ecosystem. So I think India is ready to leapfrog in two wheeler. I think two wheeler electric will happen more than we realize it.
And at Spot Health, we have only two-wheeler vehicles for delivery.
Wow.
So we are trying to participate in that revolution in our little way. And we hope
Correct.
that other people also catch up.
Correct.
Actually, we were not the first entrants. We noticed Domino's first doing it.
Yeah.
That gave us some confidence. And then we put in our money in there.
Wow.
So, really nice. So, to sum it up, the pollution woes are going to be solved by mobility and construction dust.
Yeah.
Mobility, you're already taking care of it, sir, and you're trying your best.
Yeah.
What about the construction dust?
So construction, I think
Is there any way we can?
no, that is has to come from regulation. The government has to do that.
And they do try, right?
And the government has been responding to it. So I got invited by PSA, which is Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India, and PSA did organize my meeting with Lieutenant Governor as well as Chief Secretary of Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, and UP. For that, where we showed them this issue, and I think government is looking at that. Hopefully, this will come. But I think dust will have to be solved by regulation, and you have to ensure that there is not a single iota of what we call open dust.
Sir, one question which I should have asked earlier, but I missed it probably. Beijing faced a similar level of pollution.
Yeah. So globally, if you look
they
at
actually solved it.
Yeah.
How did they do that?
So they did one thing. They shifted to electric mobility for two-wheelers in 2017. 2017, they banned internal combustion two-wheelers. And so in India, we only look at the smoke tower, which is useless. But
that got a lot of
correct. So everybody look at the what you call the vanity. So that is a vanity showcase. That is purely useless thing, right? Smoke towers they don't even clean the air for beyond 1 meter. So useless, right?
Okay.
They solve by 2-3 things. One is that Beijing is a cold place, right? So they have a lot of furnace and all that home heating. They moved everything to oil.
Okay.
They removed coal. They shifted industries, and they made the whole last mile mobility, two-wheelers, completely.
Okay, this is what they do.
Yeah.
And what about the construction dust?
All the countries except I think India, Pakistan have proper covering methods. Even Bangkok I have seen, even in US I have seen, everywhere I have seen, they do very elaborate covering of the
and
building.
you've experienced this firsthand. It's not something that you've read. You first.
I've seen that.
Or you've
When you look at the building, I have taken a photograph. I say, oh my God, what they're doing there? Completely covered, like say, end to end. There's not a single thing you can get out.
Okay, so as Delhiites, we are a little more knowledgeable. At least I am, and now you are as well. Where we know the pollution routes, the sources and their solutions, and how we can move forward. And I'm so thankful that we had this discussion. It's actually very revelatory. I can imagine somebody who doesn't have any clue is going
Thanks.
Yeah, this is, and nobody else but you could have
No,
shared
nothing like
this
that.
information, sir.
I was able to spend some time. I was kind of lucky to afford some time. We kind of spent in this, and I looked globally. See, it's not that India is the first country to solve pollution. Look at Los Angeles. Look at London. Look at Paris. All countries have gone through terrible pollution scenarios. In fact, any country which goes into industrialization always suffers from the pollution everywhere. The only difference is that every country solved it within a year or so. In India, we have almost,
it's been a decade.
Almost a decade. And I, frankly, if you ask me, I don't think we'll get solved.
Oh, that's very sad.
Yeah. Because it's India, I think the way things are so structured and the way, that's why I call it India's design problem. Because you cannot fix anybody's accountability. Tell me who will lose a shirt if the Delhi AQI remains 700 say next year.
Yeah, nobody.
Exactly.
Asymmetric risk transfer. Yeah. Everybody can blame everybody else.
So India is a country where you have get all the power without any accountability, right? And we all want that power. So I will be surprised if Delhi. It's not that it's happening. So they were able to reduce fire this year. This year fire jumped in Delhi, Punjab. Why? Very obvious reason because all farm labor has gone, didn't come back. But the fact of the matter is, no solution has come which can bring accountability and which can be done with thought. What will work
so it's a socio-political mess that we're dealing with.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think we'll get sorted.
But I just try to forget that somber note.
We hope that we get electric mobility and probably that reduces. Yeah, so that's our hope. I think the startups in India solve a lot of things which policy should have solved. Look at healthcare. Sorry. Look at education, healthcare, or security, everything else.
Yeah.
So what policy should have solved is generally the startups to solve.
Exactly, and that's what spotted we a little ways and we.
Correct. Like we were working on this whole healthy food and everything else, right?
So we are trying our best. This is such a nice conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this. With this, we'll wind up, and thank you for letting us have the opportunity to talk with Mr. Shailesh Vikram Singh.
Thanks guys for tolerating me.
Thank you. All right, we'll wind up.
Bye-bye.
Take care.